Only 4 extra sets on pit road for all of these drivers here in the Simmax Cup Series powered by MPI. Also a 75% fuel capacity. Not necessarily surprised though still that no one's going to need fuel on just this 40-lap stint. So ready to get back to action here in this Simmax 300 from Charlotte Motor Speedway. Ross Harlow and Ray Rogers to lead the field back to the green flag. There will be just 17 laps remaining here in stage number 1. Trying to pick up some stage points. 2 races to go into the playoffs. Harlow back on the loud pedal. Ray Rogers follows him behind. Everyone else scatters real quick for position.
Again, they'll go 2 by 2, couple of rows deep. You see side by side now for what looks to be third. That's Eric Stanford, the Michigan winner a couple of weeks ago, looking under the fellow Ford Mustang and Alan Dobbs. But Dobbs is going to have the momentum down the hill of the 24-degree banking. He's going to have Kevin Hurley to assist in the draft. So Stanford will fall back to 4th. Alan Dobbs will clear for 3rd. But so far, I think it's less antsy with the worn tires here, Devon. Over the course of this restart, top 4, maybe top 5, top 6, all clear, single file.
Everyone's still hunting down Ross Harlow, the United States Marine Corps veteran. Grew up in short tracks up in northern New England, and now a driver for Second Keith Motorsports in the Chevy Camaro. Also a worker for his local Mercedes AMG, and maybe he's got to try to get a Mercedes logo up on that Chevy Camaro. We'll have to see if that will be allowed here for Second Keith Motorsports in the future for him. Nonetheless, picking up the pace still and still controlling the momentum and the tempo of this race. Stanford almost tapping the wall out of turn number 4, and when we start to come to 15 laps to go in the stage, drivers are going to become a little bit more antsy to get inside that top 10, get themselves some extra stage points.
Yeah, one of those drivers is Alex Costarella. He in that 48 machine. He was a little bit faster towards the end of that run before we had our initial caution in tonight's event. And he was about a tenth and a half faster than those ahead of him. He just completed that pass on Judd Danielson for the 7th spot. Well, I didn't have the best luck out in Dover with the Jimmy Johnson paint scheme, as we jinxed him saying that it had a luck there. It's another track where the Jimmy Johnson paint scheme's had a lot of luck in it, so hopefully that doesn't jinx Alex Muscarella incident tonight. But he's got a good run so far, qualified inside the top 10, but hanging around that 7th spot. Might be looking on the back bumper Mahar in turn 3.
Looking like that old school Cobalt Jimmy Johnson paint scheme on that Muscarella number 48 for Second Keith Motorsports. Even has the extra Chevy emblem just to make sure he gets his point across. Door to door off of turn number 4. Mahar will likely have to give this spot up as across the trioval. The 48 cuts off the edges, picks up another spot, move the 48 up to P6. Now moving into the 10th position, it's Zach Wilson. He is one of the hometown drivers, if you will. A home race here for the Boone, North Carolina police officer, driving for Tech Cup Racing. Zach Wilson, just another one of those drivers who, especially last year in the playoffs, went out and was just consistent all year long. This year has that win to lock him into this year's version of the playoffs. And now just trying to go out, get all the stage points, get all of the extra playoff points that he might be able to grab to make another playoff run this year.
And considering just how well it went for him last season, you got to think that he's probably keeping the same mentality. There's a look at the camera, just how focused he is right now, looking forward at the battle for what is 8th right now between Judd Danielson and Wyatt Brackett. But I think we failed to mention sort of the dual sides of the battles here in the near end of the regular season and, of course, in the playoffs. You have, of course, the drivers throughout the top 16 who are on the bubble, who are trying to get their way in, who are trying to keep themselves safe. But then there's also a fight between the playoff guys who are already locked in because they're fighting for points on their end so they can have some advantage going into the playoffs. When you build up playoff points over the stages, you're going to have a couple of points to cushion yourself above a lot of other drivers in the playoffs in the top 16. So Zach Wilson, although he is locked in, he's got nothing to worry about whether he's going to compete for a championship, but he's going to have to worry about how many points he can accumulate over the stages so that he can beat his competition by the time we get to Iowa.
And haven't been able to see it, but right behind this battle here, Garrett Brown is stuck up right behind, or right in front of Warren Keith. These two continue to go door to door. It's in turn number 1. Richard Swaley gets the inside lane on Chris Shoemaker. The driver of the number 4 machine for Prestige Worldwide Racing, the bright green machine this weekend, comes into tonight just about 34 points above the cut line. And he's just trying to join his fellow Shoemaker, who has 2 wins this year, Austin Shoemaker, in this year's playoffs. We will see if Chris is able to pick up some extra points as he sits outside that top 10 for now. We got a good look at one of your drivers in this battle that's becoming a bit of a hornet's nest. 2x2, 3 rows deep, starting with Shane Parrish and Judd Danielson, the Bruzy Racing teammates, for the 10th position.
Yeah, and it's almost like a plate race where these guys are trying to block both lanes, the Bruzy Racing drivers. I mean, those are stage points that they're fighting for right here. I mean, you look back to Shoemaker, where we were just talking about him. He's sitting in 13th. So the front of this pack is the edge of the top 10. And as the teammates get a little bit close there in 3 and 4, it might be able to stir this group up just a little bit more. Brown has been a little bit faster in that second row behind the 2 Bruzy Racing drivers of the last few laps. Just nowhere to go right now. So that's the battle you have with Charlotte Motor Speedways. While one lane may be able to make that move work, the other lane is all dependent on that clean air and seeing which lane is going to move. So if you're not in the right lane, you're going to be going backwards really fast here as Warren Kyle keeps getting up in that battle as well.
And luckily for these drivers, one battle that they do not have to face is the racetrack when it's hot, because as we all know, for the World 600, yes, that's what I'm going to call it for the entirety of the race, if I do call it that, you have to deal with the summer heat here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And here in the Simmax Cup Series, the actual weather in sim is based off of the last NASCAR Cup Series race in real life that happened here. Luckily for these drivers, they did not base the weather off of May 2021. They based the weather off of the Roval back on October 10th. So temperature right now in sim is only 62-degree ambient temperature, 67-degree track temperature. Don't expect that to escalate too much more, but since you don't have to worry about some of the slick and sliding that these drivers have to race against, the World 600, right now a very decent track temperature to keep the wheels under you.
It's going to be a lot better, Devin. I think, to say the very least, going for grip and just making sure your car sticks to the racetrack when you're pushing it 150%. And I think these drivers are probably thankful that it's not in the triple digits or it's not in the high 90s, because they will be all over the place. I think like we saw at Atlanta not too long ago in the season, where they were pretty much slipping and sliding all over with the sun beaming on that asphalt track. But so far, it's definitely been good for them, and it definitely looks like these drivers have a better handle of the race cars here tonight as the sun will start to dip. Look who's making this pass, though, Devin. 4th position underneath 411. That's Warren Kyle Keith. Mind you, he started 34th as Judd Danielson got a bit of a hip check from Garrett Brown, but Warren Keith has been on the move since the start, now creeping into the top 10.
Keith is a man on a mission, up 22 spots since the drop of the green flag. A Championship 4 competitor last year who went to victory lane 5 times for Sega Keith Motorsports. This year he has only found victory lane on 1 single occasion, so definitely not the quota that I know that he's happy with. He wants to get out there and land in victory lane much more than just that lone race, the full length race, the full 400-mile race back on August 8th at Kansas Speedway. He wants to get back to victory lane, and could this be the lucky race? Last season, he won this race on fuel mileage. That turned into a stretch of 3 wins in a row for that stretch early on in season number 3.
Yeah, and on top of those 4 wins in a row, I think after those 4 wins, he averaged the top 3 finishing across 8 races after that win. So not only did that propel him into those wins, it propelled him into a stretch that put him as a championship favorite last year. Ultimately, he fell a little bit short in that last season, but yeah, this could be the turnaround for him. He showed a lot of great pace, finished in the top 3 last week at Dover after surviving all the melee that happened there, and he's looking pretty good right now. But this battle for the lead has been kind of stagnant up front. Harlow's been still dominating up front for these final few laps here in stage 1, but Rogers, I'm surprised he hasn't been able to make the move stick on Harlow over this run. Usually he's been one to come on late in these runs, but as these top 5 break away, it just seems as though the momentum just doesn't come to Rogers at the right time when he looks to the back bumper Harlow.
Just 3 races ago, first win of the season for Ross Harlow, found victory lane at Richmond Raceway on Halloween night with all of these spooky and cartoon paint schemes that we had out here. Couple of final bursts, 1 lap to go in this stage. They throw the stage caution here to consider all of the caution laps. They throw that stage caution at the beginning of the lap. So this time by will be our stage conclusion. Costarella getting feisty right behind Kevin Hurley for that 5th position. Stanford taking over 2nd. But for stage number 1, no one can contest the 19 machine of Ross Harlow. Off of turn number 4, stage 1 goes to Harlow. 2nd place, and those 9 bonus points are just gonna go to Ray Rogers, it looked like, at the stripe. Eric Stanford, Alan Dobbs, Kevin Hurley, the top 5. Muscarella, Mahar, Brackett, Parrish, and how about Warren Keats sneaking into the top 10 to grab one extra bonus point to close out stage number 1.